Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. So I did a flip through of Grains of Gold last Friday. I really wanted to get back to that space double page spread, and so we're going to take some gelatos today and use it as a base. I'm going to use them two different ways. I'm showing you the colors I got here. Using them two different ways. I'll talk about specifically which set this is in a minute, but I had obviously done this once and had to change the audio because it was messed up. So um, I'm going to be using gelatos directly on the paper for the background, the actual space part of it, and then we're going to switch and do gelatos on a palette and then paint it on like watercolors for the planet itself. Now, what I wanted to do first was check and see how the gelatos do. You could, I had to speed this up. This is so wacky. Sorry, but I wanted to test the gelatos on a small little section just to make sure I wasn't going to be surprised by anything. This is actually my first Hanna Karlzon page. I hadn't colored in any of my Hanna Karlzon books before, so I don't really know how anything does in these books. So that's why, again, this is going to be a demo instead of a tutorial per se, because I'm learning right along with y'all. So here I come in with a couple different gelatos. Or at least just one. I activate it, and then I come in with a couple Arteza pencils just to kind of test it, and I was pleased with the results, but then I used a darker set of colors on the other page, and of course the results come out a little bit different. So but hey, whatever. Again, I'm still learning here. So I did use a water brush, my Arteza water brushes for this. Those generally tend to be my go-to water brushes right now for anytime I use them. And I give it a second to dry. I'll hit it with a heat gun, and then I come in with a couple Arteza pencils just to shade over. I've shaded over gelatos. There it is with the shaded part. Looks good. I've done that before in Kirby Rosanna's books, but just wanted to make sure nothing weird happened with this paper, because sometimes, paper can be different. So here at the top, I am using the Faber-Castell Gelatos. This is the 15 Iridescence set. It's the original set. There's Iridescence and Iridescence 2. This is the original Iridescence set with a lot of space colors in it. Lunar. So I'm using Stardust right now. I'll be using Galaxy and Black Hole for the top, and then most of the others for the rest of the picture, I will have them listed in the description which ones I specifically used. I apparently missed that I had a orange one and a yellow one, so I end up kind of mixing my own colors with this, and now that I've looked at it and realized that, I'm actually pretty okay with that, because the color palette I had was interesting because I mixed a couple of the colors, and I like the results I got. I end up having an orange, but it's more of a brownish orange rather than like a really bright one, and that actually kind of works out, as you'll see at the end. So again, coming in with, I wanted to try another galaxy background. I have not had a lot of success with these in the past. I tried Sargent Art watercolor crayons in the Kirby Rosanna's Foxy February picture last year in 2021, and my little nebulas look like little just like blobs where you're showing like the nucleus of an atom. It's pretty much how they ended up looking. I wasn't pleased with that. I tried it in another Kirby Rosanna's book. I think I showed you guys when I did the demo with the Dragon Eye, and tried that with Neocolor 2s, trying to do a background kind of like this, and it was awful. Just blobby, and nothing was Nothing was mushing together and just, oh, it looked terrible. So this is my third attempt at a galaxy background, and decided to go with the gelatos because I do like using them, and I've used them enough now to where I'm starting to feel a little more comfortable with them than I do other things. So, and this paper is interesting, by the way. I figured that out once I go to activate this. So, if you're not familiar with Hanna Karlzon paper, at least in, I'm not sure about her smaller, more recent series, but in her original books, and again, not sure if the paper is exactly the same across the board, but it looks similar. So in Grains of Gold, it is very thick paper. So like now I know why I see so many people use watercolor and water media in these books. Oh my gosh, that gave me a heart attack. I think the wind's picking up and it hit like the thing propping open my window made it rattle and just about gave me a heart attack. Um, I have the open window where they go to the screen porch is right next to my office area. So, but anyway, I see people use water media on this all the time, and now I know why. This is very thick, not very thick, but thick, textured paper. And when I started activating it right here, I realized I really have to put some water on this sucker to get this stuff to dissolve on the paper. Um, and the good news is it didn't bleed through. But I use a lot more water than I think I have. I wouldn't want to use this much water in a Kirby Rosanna's book. That's for sure. I would definitely be nervous. In that paper, I've used water mediums quite a bit on, but like this, I really had to work at it. In retrospect, I probably should have used, um, I should have tried a watercolor brush, but at least with this, it allowed me to constantly put out more water on the brush with the water brush to get it to finally dissolve. So just know if you are putting pigment directly on the paper, you really need to wet the paper down to get it good and dissolved. So on on these Hanna Karlzon pages like this. Again, not sure if it's the same paper in her other series, but in her smaller book series. But and then here I am kind of going in between. Now I wish this turns out pretty good. I mean, once it's done and it dries, it definitely is my best attempt of the three so far. Absolutely. You know, I am pleased enough with it. But in retrospect, I almost wish I had done the whole page on a palette. I just didn't realize how hard I was going to have to work at this paper to pick up that pigment. And it does not want to move easily. And I think it's just because of the texture of the paper. So like in a Curry Rosanna's book, I can easily put the gelato dry on the paper and activate it with water because the paper's smoother and it pushes it around a lot easier. This paper is more textured, and so thus you need a lot more water to get it to move. And so um, again, I really had to soak it down, and I was worried it would bleed through. There was a little mark at one point, but once it dried, it went away completely. So I didn't get the blend in between the colors like I really wanted, just because I was having so much difficulty getting it to activate. So in retrospect, I would say unless I will probably just use palettes, and then pull water mediums from the palette onto the paper. I'm probably not going to, unless I just want a messy look like this, which there's nothing wrong with. See, you can see a little bit right there, but once it dries, it's gone. So, unless I really want this kind of, a little bit messier look to it, And there's plenty of times I would want that. Then I would probably use it straight on the paper. But if I really wanted to see, you can see I'm trying to go back over it, and it's just not having it. I would have to come back over with just a ton of water, and I was a little worried I would start causing paper integrity issues if I kept going over the wet surface over and over again. But in terms of, really wetting down the paper, this is great paper. Great paper. I was very pleased in that regard. I guess when you get used to having to be extra careful in the other books, it threw me when I first started using this one. But like in these little spots right here, I should have really just pulled from the palette. But like a lot of times, if I accidentally paint into an area I don't want to paint in, I can usually come back in on smoother paper and like that little purple spot right there, usually lift it out with enough water and patience. And this just wasn't moving. Once it was down, unless I wanted to put a puddle of water on it and move it around. It just did not want to budge. And so there is something right there that I feel like is a good thing to share if you haven't done anything with water in Hanna Karlzon's books. That's something to keep in mind. Now, my original plan was to come through, activate all this, let it dry, then I was going to come back with a palette and fill in some areas. Honestly, though, once it dried and I kept kind of just looking at it, and I was also a little lazy, I was kind of like, I think it's good as is. I really do. I think it would have looked nicer had I had more colors to make a more gradual change from like the pink, like put in a dark pink between that and the purple, and then in the purple and the black, like maybe a really dark blue black color would have probably ended up being a little nicer. It was just a pretty big jump between the colors, but still overall, like I said, this is by far my best effort towards a galaxy background, and very pleased with the results. You can also tell I got tired of going around all the little dots and stars at one point, and I just stopped doing it. I figured I could come back in with a white gel pen later and just do that. So I'm also really bad. I tried this time to be more careful. I'm usually very heavy handed when I put the gelatos down, so thus I wind up with a whole lot of the pigment on the paper when I really didn't need that much. So this time I tried to, oh yeah, I'll mention that in a minute. You're like, what the heck is that? I tried to be a little lighter handed this time so I didn't have as much pigment in my way, mucking it up. So I feel like I definitely did a better job with that this time too. So what I just showed you was something I got for my birthday last year. It's the basic set of Ecoline watercolors, and they're actual liquid watercolors. And at some point I need to use those because I haven't used them yet, and I've had them for a year now. I would like to, I'm really curious to try those in a Hanna Karlzon book too. Like this, I have a feeling is going to be where I do a lot of my water color experimenting with, just because the paper's nice and I can get away with a little bit more. But yeah, no, once it was done and dried, I was just kind of like, I don't really want to go back in and I mean, I could have fixed a few little areas, but I was just lazy. It looks good. Looks good enough. I'm happy enough with it. So that was, I think, Stardust, Galaxy, and Black Hole. Now I'm going to use Nebula for the planet and Comet, I think, Comet for the planet and Nebula for the little, like, are they stalagmites or stalactites? I can't remember which one's coming up from the ground. This time, however, I'm going to rub it on my Caran d'Ache palette, which, as you can see, has been heavily used and sometimes lazily not washed. And oh, what's really cool about these, by the way, so I forgot they were iridescents. And about the time I was putting this green down, I happened to kind of look at the paper from a different angle, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's shiny. And all of it's shiny, and it's really nice. And so at first, I was a little nervous about that because I was worried that might affect the pencil over the top of it. But that fox picture I just mentioned, I had used these in that fox picture and had absolutely no problem putting pencil over them. So I think it'll be fine. So here I am. I want to make sure it's all as dissolved as I can get it. And I really wet it down. And just bring it down like watercolor. And honestly, I think this is my preferred way of using it with complicated pictures like this, where I have multiple areas that I'm going to fill in. If it's one of the pictures with like a very open background, I might use the gelatos just to get a quick kind of rough looking background. But if I want a smoother look or a smoother blend, I think this will be the way to go. Now I go over these weird little spiky flower things in the hopes that I'm going to use gel pen on them later, in the hopes that it does not affect how I lay down, how gel pen lays down, but I guess we're going to find that out. If it causes an issue, then I might use acrylic paint or something instead. So it's always a way around it. But the plan is, this is going to be all a base of gelato, just pretty much on everything. And then I'm going to come in with pencil. Hopefully be able to do that next Tuesday. And then I'm going to finish out with some gel pen on some of the little bits and pieces. Though I gotta say, when I got done with the gelato side, I was kind of like, dang, I almost kind of just want to leave it. But I really do want to add some pencil to it. I might just be a little quicker about the pencil and not do too much detail work. But we'll see how it goes. Still trying to let my arm and wrist and stuff rest up. I have this and the cat picture to add pencil to. So I'm about to speed this up and add some music to it and show you guys how we do the rest of the picture. I actually end up mixing some colors together, and we'll talk about that at the end. You'll see some different colors on here, and I'll talk about I had some fun with some mixing them. So yeah, we'll speed this up, and if you want, you can just bounce in the chapter in the description to the next section, to the completed picture. And here we are with all the gelato base down. And I am so digging it. I'm actually having a lot of fun with this picture. So I feel like I should have used the red in more places. That was like, but the flowers are going to be red gel pens, so that's one of the reasons you only see like one red planet. And yeah, so the yellow is part of the set. It is Odyssey, and again, I forgot about Supernova. It wasn't, my gelatos are in no way, shape, or form organized, and I do not have them swatched, and I really should. So I wanted an orange, but I didn't have it, so I combined the red, the Mars, and the Odyssey to get that kind of brownish orange, kind of a rusty orange. Honestly, I like that better than the brighter Supernova for this picture, because you've got so many bright colors going on in the background. I feel like our little adventure alien gals needed a little bit toned down on their ship and on their outfits. And I like that it's all color coordinated. And you know me, this is a big fantasy picture. I didn't want to make them just regular humans, so we've got the alien blue skin and the alien green hair there. So I am super pleased with how this is going so far. Like I said, I do want to add some pencil to it, but it may not be a lot. I don't know. We'll have to see once I get into it. I definitely want to work on some shading for the space gals, and definitely for the planet's surface and the rocks and everything. And then the crystals and the flowers are going to be gel pen. Again, come in with some gel pen accents here and there. Do some white stars in the background. And yeah, that's gonna be it. I gotta say though, I mean, really and truly, I could just add gel pen to this and I would probably be pleased enough with it. But I'm having fun with it, so we'll go ahead and keep on with it. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope if you have Hanna Karlzon books and you haven't colored in them, hopefully this will be inspirational in some fashion to show you guys that, you know, hey, especially even with scary water mediums, you can create a really cute page in these books. And I like I said, by far, this has been my favorite paper to work with in regards to water mediums. It is a little difficult when you put it directly on the paper, but in terms of being able to add a lot of water, I don't feel as nervous about tearing the paper in this book. There are other books that I prefer to use the gelatos, the King Art gel sticks directly on the paper and activate them because they're smoother. This one has a texture. So if you didn't hear me at the beginning, I used the gelatos directly in the space background on the paper, and it took a lot of water to activate them and lift them off the paper because there is a texture to the paper. So I had better luck pulling from the palette in this bottom half of the picture and just applying it like a watercolor. But I think that kind of rougher look in the background would be great on certain pages in her books. So I'm definitely not knocking that either. But if I want a smoother look, I would probably want to pull from a palette or color in a book that has a smoother paper to it. So yeah, hopefully next week we will tackle some pencils. I'm thinking we're going to try maybe the Artezas for this one, because I did the Artezas with the flower on the page before and they turned out pretty nice. I'm thinking I'm going to do the Arteza Expert, is it Expert? Whatever they're called, the Arteza 120 set. And then on the cat picture, I'm probably going to use maybe my Derwent Color Softs or my Prismas or my Polychromos. I don't know, we'll see. Probably a more earthy tone just because that one's got more of a earthy kind of tone to it. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. I will be back tomorrow with a flip through, as long as Amazon delivers it, of Alexandra Franzis's latest book, which is Chibi Mermaids. And still not sure if I'm going to live stream Friday night or Saturday during the day. We're going to see how I feel when we get to Friday, and I'll let you guys know by Friday morning. So, all right, guys, thanks for stopping by. And if you have any questions or if there's something you'd like to see me demo in on these videos, please let me know in the comments. I'm mostly just going with what I'm inspired to do. And again, I don't like to call these tutorials because I'm until I get to the point that I feel confident in what I'm doing, they're going to be called demos, because most of the time, like in this case, I'm just trying new books and new things, and you guys get to, the beauty of it is you guys get to learn right along with me, and hopefully if I make an oopsie, you guys won't, and you know what you're getting as you're getting into it. So thanks guys for watching, and bye for now.